Again, this is why I think you and I differ on our angle with regard to, for example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
like I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time to watch Candace's show.
I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that
what I understand
friendship
Candace
should not, in our business.
Grace and peace, everybody. This is going to be a good one, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Last night, Ben Shapiro was on Megyn Kelly's panel, and she sat down and asked Ben some pretty tough questions. And Ben, he brought those receipts. He pushed back pretty hard. Now, I have to admit, I don't like this interview that she did. I don't think she was equally, especially talking about Nick Fuentes, I don't think she was equally as kid glove as she was with Tucker Carlson. And I'll show you in a second exactly what I mean. So thank you all so much for tapping in. Let's go ahead and bring this video in. Let's go.
So you and I have talked about Nick Fuentes many times over the years in our many appearances together. And that's how I knew about him, because he was saying absolutely terrible things about you. And I am going to show a video, please forgive me, of one of my first introductions to this guy, Nick Fuentes, and what he was saying about Ben. This is a video of him showing himself playing Grand Theft Auto, right, a video game where you shoot people, and he's pretending that this character in the video is Ben. Let's watch.
Ah! Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that makes me laugh and laugh. That's a funny one. What a chance encounter that was. I think I just saw Ben Shapiro.
And it goes on. It goes on.
I mean, I would hate for people to believe that the Nick Fuentes sort of...
And the reason I think that Megyn Kelly's team and Megyn Kelly were out of pocket for this is, remember when she had Tucker Carlson on, and Tucker Carlson made a lot of hay about how Nick Fuentes spoke bad about his dad, the patriarch of the family, his wife, his child. Megyn Kelly didn't bring up any videos of that. As far as I know, she didn't bring up any videos about, hey, I know that this is a wound in your soul. Let me show everybody exactly what he did. But why did she do that to Ben Shapiro? I just think that it was really out of pocket. But don't worry, I think Ben is going to get his get back.
My problems with Nick Fuentes are about me, because they really are not. They are about the fact that Nick Fuentes is a truly horrifying person who believes truly horrifying things. I mean, again, there is a reason why Charlie Kirk despised him. There is a reason why every mainstream political commentator has been highly critical of him. It's the reason why these are not arguments. This is not a person who's making arguments. He is a Hitler-loving troll, and I say that advisedly. He literally says on his show that he loves Adolf Hitler. Okay, so the reason this has come up in recent weeks is because Tucker, your guest last night, decided to have him on last week and to completely gloss him, in my opinion. And you can make up your own opinion as to what you think Tucker was doing during that interview, but I know what it looks like when Tucker Carlson decides to be an aggressive interviewer, when he decides to ask difficult questions of people. Tucker is eminently capable of doing that. He did it to Ted Cruz quite thoroughly. But he decided, for any number of reasons, and I try not to attribute motivations to people, that he was going to treat Fuentes with kid gloves, that he was going to not ask him about any of the things that I've just mentioned, literally any of them, and to essentially normalize Fuentes, act as a sort of gateway drug, or as what I've called Tucker, as an ideological launderer of bad ideas over the last couple of years. And this is not coming from a place of animus for Tucker on a personal level. I've known Tucker for a very long time. Tucker and I, whenever we're in personal situations, we get along great. I think I saw that Tucker talked about how we were at Charlie's memorial in the vice president's box together, and he's correct. I mean, we saw each other, we said hello, we talked, it was very friendly, and all of that. And it's also true that a couple of days after Charlie's murder, he reached out and he called me and he said, listen, I know that we're at odds, and we've been at odds for a number of reasons, mainly political. I mean, again, on a personal level, I'd go fishing with Tucker anytime. The real question is, for me, I got into this business because I care about the ideas and I care about the ideals. And so when you're determining what is conservatism, what should the future of America look like, and where do you draw the lines, those are the questions that I need to answer in my job. For me, my business is really not about friendship. I have lots of friends, people who I love, with whom I disagree on politics and don't believe they should be leaders in the conservative movement, for example. And that to me is the real question. In any case, Tucker reached out. He said, we've had a bunch of disagreements, and what if we could put those aside and align toward the DSA in particular, is what he mentioned. And I said, Tucker, you're totally right. Let's do that. That would be great. In fact,
the TSA?
The DSA, the Democratic Socialists of
Why
America.
the TSA?
I thought so too.
How did that bring you together?
The Democratic Socialists of America. And the reason
No,
I'm
that
taking,
I know.
Yes, and the reason that I'm taking out
TSA
my
only
phone
divides people.
is because, yes, the reason I'm taking out my phone is because I don't just, I like to evidence what I'm saying with, actual evidence. So
Y'all know why he said actual evidence. Y'all do know that, right? Y'all know why he said it.
I texted him, and the text exchange was very nice. I mean, here's what the actual text exchange went like after the call. So I texted him, and I said, thanks so much for calling. It means the world. It truly does. Should we do a show together talking about the DSA threat, Democratic Socialists of America threat, and orienting in the same direction? Happy to do whatever it takes to bring everyone back together for the fight that matters. And Tucker then wrote back, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm going to spend the next week or two thinking about how to be most effective. The country is clearly on the brink. I reached out repeatedly after that. Nothing happened. And again, I thought it was a good idea at the time. I think I felt differently after I saw what he did with Nick Fuentes, and after he proceeded, in my opinion, to spend the subsequent weeks doing literally nothing to fight the left. I say this with sadness because Tucker used to be, I think, a deeply important part of the conservative push to win. The number of times that Tucker Carlson has mentioned Zoran Mamdani since October 5th on his show is once. And it was in the context of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson talking about the appeal of Zoran Mamdani. Just by way of contrast, not because I'm a perfect representative here, but because you've talked about Zoran Mamdani a lot. A lot of us have. Since October 5th, I did 17 separate shows on Zoran Mamdani, including 4 in the last week before the election. Okay, because when you're orienting against the left, you really should orient against the left.
I think this is, and look, Ben Shapiro has his thumb on the pulse of the problem. The problem is we're arguing about things that are not American problems. We're not arguing about, you can try as much as you want to. Israel is not America's problem. That's not our problem. Our problem is what he just said right there. The Democratic Socialists of America, the influx of Islam, and so on and so forth, right here on American soil. It's not Israel. And to keep making everything about Israel is really missing the point. And I think Ben is right on the money right there.
Okay, so
And other people agree
a
too.
lot in there. I think, just to be clear, so the breakdown from the detente after Charlie was him interviewing Fuentes. Was that the next thing that happened that led to the blow up?
I mean, yes. I mean, I had not spoken a word. There
So it
were
wasn't
things
that he attacked you, or you had
no,
something?
I don't care about
it
people
was that
attacking
interview.
me, and I don't think Tucker cares about people attacking him. I mean, again, we're professionals. We're in a business where people comment on what we say publicly. Again, this is why I think you and I differ on our angle with regard to, for example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay.
And hey, look, I'm gonna jump in right quick before, and I'm gonna let Ben cook because Ben is cooking. I personally don't think Megyn Kelly is being a fair actor. I just can't believe that you have not heard the thing, even if you don't watch her show. I just can't believe you haven't heard the stuff that Candace Owens is saying out there on the Twitterverse, out there just in general, for crying out loud around the water cooler. I just can't believe that you're not hearing any of this at all. Now, again, you don't have to watch the whole show. You don't have to watch all of her content, but just to hear an overall arch of this is what she's talking about right here. I just can't believe you don't know this. But listen to what Megyn says.
And I say that again.
But what
Because
like
it is
I
important.
didn't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
Why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you
because
comment
I
on
don't-
these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing
It sounds
CPUSA
ridiculous.
insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time to watch
No,
Candace's
I
show.
believe you. I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that when
Yeah, and taking in her show and just knowing that information, I can't believe you don't know it, Megyn. I'm sorry, I just can't.
What I
that
understood
friendship
Candace
should
to
not,
have
in
been
our
doing.
business, I think it's important. Listen,
No, and Candace
friendship
and I are
should
not
not
friends.
trump.
We don't even know each other.
I understand, but even with Tucker, friendship should not trump our manifest requirement to speak out when people do and say things that are both detrimental to conservatism and morally wrong.
Okay, so I don't totally disagree, but I think the way of handling that, at least for me, is much different. So I saw things go south between you and Tucker, at least from my vantage point, when you disagreed on Israel. That was obvious. And
Well-
he was, well, let me just make my point.
Sure.
And so he was saying things that were critical of Israel and our policy towards Israel. And then you did one show where you did what I thought you should have done if you disagreed with him, which clearly you did, which is say what you believe and what you think is factual and like educate your audience on what you think are the real facts and give them the evidence for it. But you named him and it felt like an attack. And that to me was the beginning of the end, where he was like, now it's on. Because he felt personally attacked by you, as opposed to just challenging his idea. I think you named him and you kind of diminished him. And, you know, he's an 800-pound gorilla, and if you mess with a gorilla, he's going to fight. And to me, that's where it started to go south. And because I remember that day being like, oh, shit.
Well,
I don't want to see this.
But here's the thing. I would urge everybody to go back and listen to the show that you're referring to, where I criticized Tucker's ideas, not Tucker as a person. Tucker then responded by claiming that I do not love America. That is a direct quote. That I do not love America because I was spending too much time covering the October 7th attacks, and then proceeded in January to then say that I wanted his children to die in a foreign war. Okay, so
But
those are a different...
That's a rhetorical
no, it is
point.
not. I'm
He's
sorry,
he's-
it's not. An attack on motivation is a very...
But that's still a statement. Whether it's a rhetorical retort is beyond the point. That's if you want to say that he was attacking him, then that is being attacked by Tucker. Let's call a spade a spade.
different
his
thing from an
point-
attack on an idea.
His point was that you were sounding like a neocon, and he's upset with anybody who wants us to get too involved in Israel's conflict because he feels it endangers American
Listen,
children.
Okay, the idea that, number one, the idea that I want the United States to be directly involved in Israel's conflict
I
is
get
not
it.
true.
No, I know that, Ben.
I've been urging Israel to get off of American aid for literally as long as I have been active in politics.
But I'm making
That
clear
is
what
not-
his point was.
But
Like,
my point is that that's not his point. And again, none of this
So we
blew
disagree.
into... Well, we disagree on the interpretation of what Tucker has been doing for
Correct.
the past 2 years. And
Yes.
it's very difficult for me to believe that Tucker is merely anti-Israel when, for example, today, in his newsletter, I mean, I can directly quote it if you'd like, in his newsletter today, he claimed that Zoran Mamdani is not anti-Semitic. This was his newsletter today, this morning. I mean, I'm happy to read the text. It's a little extraordinary because again, it is kind of shocking stuff. So here's what Tucker Carlson wrote in his newsletter today, or what his...
Okay, so before he jumps in, this is what I'm saying. Like, Zoran Mamdani has a lot of problems. Him being anti-Semitic, I don't think is all of his problems. So why are we only focusing on that? What about his other problems that can be better understood and don't have the drag of quote unquote anti-Semitism? Why not focus on? I think that's the problem with Tucker as well as Ben and Megyn to a degree. Like, stop making everything about Israel. Make things about America. Argue about things that affect and directly impact Americans. That would be great. Let's go.
His newsletter says, under his name. He said, "Is the incoming mayor a fan of Israel? Does he want America to fight its wars? Not particularly. But a Jew hater? That's a different conversation. We've never seen anything to suggest he falls into that ugly camp. If we're talking about fighting the left, defending Zoran Mamdani, who literally said that he has no opinion whether Hamas should disarm, who posed alongside the 1993 World Trade Center unindicted co-conspirator, who would not disown globalize the Intifada, who suggested that whenever there is a New York Police Department boot on somebody's neck, it's an IDF lacing the strings, to suggest that that's not anti-Semitic in any way. No way.
Okay, but listen.
Or when
I'm going to give you a defense of Tucker here, and I don't need to defend Tucker because I'm not Tucker.
Tucker can
But
perfectly
I'll
well
just
defend
say,
himself.
I think in general, because I know him and I listen to him and I understand generally where he's coming from. He would say his problems are with Israel, and he would say that shot that Mamdani laid against the IDF is a shot against the IDF and Israel, and how he thinks they're pro-war, not against Jews.
Okay.
And I think
all I can say is when Tucker Carlson finds himself in complete alignment with Zoran Mamdani, it is very difficult for me to believe that he does not agree with Zoran Mamdani.
I think Tucker is in a place right now of the same place that Charlie was getting to toward the end of his life, the same place that some people had tried to drive me, which is you're under withering, nonstop accusations of being something you know you're not.
Well,
but from some people who you love and who you've been protecting, at least in my case and Charlie's case, for 2 years, who you've been completely defensive of.
Megyn,
and Charlie and I both felt, and because we talked about this on my show, like, what's happening here? Why are they dropping charges of anti-Semitism against us when we love Jews and we're both open Semites? We're Zionists.
That if I see somebody breach basic moral values by having on a Nazi, and in my own view, take your own view, in my own view, gloss the Nazi, then I'm going to speak out about that, and I'm going to point out that there is a long pattern of him ideologically laundering terrible ideas over the course of the last 2 years, ranging from traveling to Russia to sniff the bread and explain why the Russian regime is actually wonderful, to saying last week that the Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro is actually not that bad because they're being attacked by, in his words, globo homo.
Tucker's made the point, I'm not going to here to be Tucker's defender, but he's made the point that Maduro is culturally conservative.
Who gives a shit? The guy's a communist.
Say it, man.
He's shooting fentanyl to the United States to kill Americans. Why do you give a shit whether he's anti-LGBTQ rights? This is the number one thing about Nicolas Maduro. You know how far down the list you have to get before you can get to anything remotely recommendable about Nicolas Maduro?
I did ask him yesterday.
That was well played. Shout out for sure. Y'all, I just wanted to make sure we had a chance to give Ben his flowers. I think he's right on the money. We need to argue and orient ourselves against the left and not against these phantoms and phantasms and ghosts and specters. We need to actually deal with real hard issues that Americans are dealing with right now. And I don't think that's what we've been doing. And I think that's why Zoran Mamdani is now mayor of New York. And I think that's why other key races that just passed have happened, because we're not focused on what needs to be focused on. And we keep pointing the finger at Israel. And that's not our biggest issue. Not even our third issue. Really, it's not. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for rocking with us, helping us hit our goal of 100,000 likes this month. So go ahead and hit that like button if I earned it. I appreciate y'all. And until next time, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.